Three big pieces of news: earnings per share that beat estimates and sales that topped what Wall Street was looking for, a forecast that looks a little shaky, and then a lot of cash coming back to shareholders in the form of stock buybacks. Let's start with the quarter that just passed. This was the second quarter for Apple, Pim. $10.09 a share, $9.98 per share was the estimate. The sales of $43.6 billion, topping the $42.3 billion estimate. However, looking ahead to Apple's fiscal third quarter, the company says revenue will range between $33.5 billion and $35.5 billion compared to a Wall Street estimate for $38.5 billion. Also some gross margins ahead that seem to be lower than what Wall Street was looking for. However, you do see the stock up after hours in part because Apple just put a whole bunch of cash to work. Of course, we've talked endlessly about the cash hoard. The company had already announced plans over a 3-year stretch to give shareholders back upwards of $45 billion. They're boosting that by about $55 billion. So now a plan to return to shareholders upwards of $100 billion over a 3-year stretch. Of the new money they have earmarked for that, the bulk of it coming in the form of a stock buyback. Pim?
John, they've also increased the dividend, right? If you own Apple shares, you're going to be getting more.
Yeah, to north of $3. When they first announced the dividend, which I believe was the first in 17 years or something along those lines, it was $2.65 a share. So they bumped that up as well. And here is a company that obviously has faced a tremendous amount of pressure from shareholders, one in particular, the activist investor David Einhorn, who even wanted the company to consider putting out a preferred class of shares to perhaps give investors a way to take advantage of that cash pile that the company has. Another interesting tidbit, Pim. The company says it plans to borrow as part of this plan to boost the money that's coming back to shareholders. It didn't give more specifics on that. It said with time they'll give more information. But one of the ideas along the way, as everyone around the world weighed in on how Apple should use its cash, was that perhaps to keep this separate slightly from the balance sheet story, that they go out to the bond market where they've got a very good name, borrow some money there as part of their cash payment.